Emma Torres wiped down the espresso machine for the third time that morning, her hands moving in the familiar rhythm she had perfected over 2 years of running Corner Brew. The small cafe sat tucked between a dry cleaner and a used bookstore on the edge of Manhattan's Lower East Side, the kind of place tourists walked past without noticing and locals treated like a second home. Sunlight filtered through the front windows, catching dust particles in golden beams. The scent of fresh ground coffee mixed with cinnamon from the morning's batch of pastries. Emma's younger brother Marcus had left them cooling on the counter before heading to his community college classes, and she made a mental note to save him 2 of the chocolate croissants he loved. The rent was due in 5 days. She had most of it, but not all. The espresso machine had needed repairs last month, eating into her carefully maintained buffer. Marcus's textbooks had cost more than expected. Her mother's medication wasn't getting cheaper. Emma didn't let herself think about the numbers too much. Thinking led to panic, and panic led to mistakes. Instead, she focused on what she could control: perfect shots of espresso, genuine smiles for every customer, keeping the cafe clean and warm and welcoming. The morning rush had ended. Only 3 customers remained: an elderly woman reading the newspaper by the window, a college student typing frantically on a laptop, and him, Dante Moretti. He sat at the corner table like he did every Tuesday and Thursday morning, his back to the wall, his eyes scanning the street outside. Dark suit, perfectly tailored. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. A newspaper folded beside him, though Emma noticed he rarely read it. She had learned his order within the first week. By the second month, she had learned his patterns. He arrived at 9:30, stayed 40 minutes, never took phone calls inside the cafe, always left a $20 bill for a $4 coffee. By the 4th month, she had learned the way his jaw tightened when something in the street caught his attention, the way his eyes softened when his daughter visited, a small girl with dark curls who colored in workbooks, while Dante watched her with fierce protectiveness. By the 6th month, Emma had stopped pretending she didn't feel something when he walked through her door. "Refill?" she asked, approaching his table with the carafe. Dante looked up, and something in his expression shifted. Not quite a smile, but close. "Thank you, Emma." He always used her name. Never Miss or Ma'am. Just Emma, spoken in a voice that was low and careful, as if he was aware of the weight his words carried. She poured the coffee, hyper-aware of the silence between them. It wasn't uncomfortable. It never was with him. But it felt full, like there were 1,000 unspoken things hovering in the air. "Quiet morning," he said, "the calm before the lunch rush." She smiled. "Though I'm not complaining. Gives me time to breathe." His eyes lingered on her face for a moment longer than necessary. "You work too hard," says the man who's here at 9:30 on a Thursday. "I like coffee." "You like the quiet," she corrected gently. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or recognition that she saw him more clearly than most people did. "Both," he admitted. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Emma's phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She glanced at it quickly, a text from Marcus about picking up groceries later. She typed a quick response, then slid the phone away. "Your brother?" Dante asked. She blinked, surprised. "How did you—" "You smile differently when you text him. Same way you smiled when he brought those pastries earlier." Her chest warmed. He noticed. He actually paid attention to details about her life, not just his coffee order. "Yeah," she said softly. "He's at school. Wants me to grab milk later." "He's lucky to have you." The words settled into her chest, heavier than they should have been. Emma opened her mouth to respond, but movement outside the window caught her eye. A black car parked across the street. Tinted windows, engine running. It had been there for 10 minutes, maybe longer. She frowned. That's odd. Dante's entire body tensed. His eyes followed her gaze, landing on the car. His expression didn't change, but Emma felt the shift in him, the sudden coil of alertness, like a predator recognizing a threat. Emma, he said quietly, go to the back. Now. Her pulse jumped. What? Why? Please. His voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath. Trust me. She wanted to argue. This was her cafe, her space. But something in his eyes stopped her. This wasn't a suggestion. This was a warning. Emma took a step back, then another. The elderly woman by the window gathered her things and left, bell chiming as the door closed. The college student remained oblivious, headphones on, lost in their work. Dante stood slowly, his movements controlled. He reached into his jacket, and Emma's breath caught when she saw the subtle outline of something at his hip. A gun. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Who was he? What had she let into her cafe for 6 months without question? The black car's door opened. 3 men stepped out of the vehicle. They moved with purpose, eyes locked on the cafe's front windows. They wore casual clothes, jeans, jackets. But there was nothing casual about the way they walked. Emma's instinct screamed at her to run, but her feet stayed frozen. She watched Dante move toward the door, positioning himself between the entrance and the rest of the cafe. Emma. His voice was sharper now. Back room. Lock the door. I don't understand. You don't need to. He didn't look at her. His eyes stayed fixed on the street. You just need to be safe. The men were crossing the street now. One of them reached into his jacket. That broke Emma's paralysis. She turned and hurried toward the back hallway, past the storage shelves and the tiny office where she did paperwork. Her hands trembled as she reached for the door handle. Then she saw it. A red dot. Small, precise, dancing across Dante's shoulder blade through the cafe window. Sniper. Emma's photography training kicked in before conscious thought could catch up. Angles, distance, trajectory. The dot was coming from across the street, higher up. Probably the rooftop of the building opposite. If Dante moved toward the door to confront the 3 men, he'd be walking directly into the shooter's line of fire. Her body moved before her mind could stop her. Emma ran back into the main cafe, closing the distance between herself and Dante in 4 quick steps. She grabbed his arm, pulling him backward with surprising force. Don't turn around, she said urgently, her voice low. Sniper, red dot on your back. Dante froze. For 1 heartbeat, 2, he stood perfectly still. Then, slowly, his head turned just enough to see her face. He smiled. It wasn't a big smile. Just a subtle curve at the corner of his mouth, something warm and almost amused in his dark eyes. Stay close to me, he said quietly. Everything happened fast after that. The 3 men pushed through the cafe door. The college student finally looked up, eyes widening. Emma felt Dante's hand close around her wrist, steady and firm, pulling her behind him as he moved. Not toward the door. Toward the side wall, out of the sniper's line of sight. Moretti, one of the men called out. He was tall, blond, with a scar running down his left cheek. You're harder to corner than we expected. Volkov sent you? Dante's voice was casual, conversational, as if he was discussing the weather and not his potential assassination. He sends his regards. Tell him I'm flattered. Emma's heart pounded so hard she could feel it in her throat. Her hand was still in Dante's grip, his fingers warm against her wrist. She could feel his pulse, steady, controlled, nothing like her own racing heartbeat. The scarred man's eyes flicked to Emma. Collateral damage is unfortunate, but unavoidable. Something cold washed through her. Dante stepped slightly in front of her, blocking the man's view. You walk out now, and we pretend this didn't happen. Not an option. Then you chose the hard way. What happened next felt like a choreographed dance Emma didn't know the steps to. Dante moved with fluid precision, pulling her down behind the counter as the first gunshot cracked through the air. The espresso machine's metal body shielded them, bullets sparking off stainless steel. The college student screamed and dove under a table. Emma's ears rang, her breath came in sharp gasps. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. People didn't shoot guns in her cafe. This was supposed to be a safe space, a quiet corner of the city where nothing bad happened. Dante's hand cupped the back of her head, pressing her face against his chest. Keep your head down, don't look. But she did look. She couldn't help it. Through the gap beneath the counter, she saw Dante's other hand emerge with his gun. Saw him lean around the edge, fire twice with mechanical accuracy. Saw one of the men drop, clutching his leg. More gunshots. Glass shattering. The front window exploded inward, spraying fragments across the floor. The sniper! Emma gasped against Dante's shirt. He's still out there. If you move... I know. His voice was calm in her ear. That's why we're not moving yet. Footsteps. Heavy boots on broken glass. The men were advancing. Dante's chest rose and fell beneath her cheek. She could smell him. Expensive cologne, coffee, something darker underneath. Gun oil, maybe. Or just danger itself, clinging to his skin. Emma, he murmured. When I say run, you go through the back door. Don't stop. Don't look back. I'm not leaving. You have a brother who needs you. His hand tightened in her hair, not rough, just firm. Grounding. You have a life that matters. This. He gestured vaguely at the chaos around them. This is my world. Not yours. Tears stung her eyes. She didn't even know why. Fear. Adrenaline. The horrible realization that she might never see him again. I'm not leaving, she repeated, stubborn. His hand shifted to cup her face, tilting her head up to meet his eyes. For the first time since she'd known him, she saw something raw there. Not fear, something deeper. You're extraordinary, he said softly. And I will not let you die in a coffee shop. Before she could respond, he moved. Dante rose in one smooth motion, firing 3 times in rapid succession. 2 more men went down. The scarred leader ducked behind an overturned table, returning fire. Now! Dante shouted. Emma ran. Her legs carried her toward the back hallway, her mind screaming at her to stop, to go back, to not leave him alone. But survival instinct overrode everything else. She burst through the back door into the alley, sunlight blinding after the dim interior. Her hands shook as she fumbled for her phone. 911. She needed to call 911. Her fingers wouldn't work properly. The phone slipped from her grasp, clattering on the pavement. More gunshots from inside, louder. Closer. Then silence. Horrible, suffocating silence. Emma's breath came in ragged sobs. She pressed her back against the brick wall, staring at the door she'd just escaped through. Please, please let him be okay. Please let him walk through that door. Seconds stretched into eternity. The door opened. Dante stepped out, blood on his shirt, a cut above his eyebrow, his gun still in his hand. His eyes found her immediately, scanning her from head to toe. Are you hurt? He asked. Emma shook her head, unable to form words. He crossed the distance between them, holstering his gun and reaching for her face with both hands. His palms were warm against her cheeks, his thumbs brushing away tears she hadn't realized were falling. You're okay, he said, and it sounded like he was trying to convince himself. You're okay. Your shirt, she managed. You're bleeding. Not my blood. That should have frightened her. It should have sent her running in the opposite direction. Instead, Emma's hands came up to grip his wrists, holding him there, needing the contact to believe he was real and alive. "The sniper?" she whispered. "My men took care of it." "Your men?" Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Dante's jaw tightened. "I need to leave before the police arrive. They'll ask questions I can't answer." "I don't understand any of this." "I know." His thumb stroked her cheeks again, gentle despite the violence that had just unfolded. "But you saved my life. That red dot. You saw it before I did. I used to study photography. I notice light." Something like admiration flickered in his eyes. "You're incredible, Emma Torres." The sirens were close now. 2 blocks away, maybe less. "I have to go," Dante said. But he didn't move. His hand stayed on her face, his eyes searching hers. "But I'm coming back. Tomorrow. We need to talk." "About what?" "About the fact that you're not safe anymore." His voice dropped, rough with something Emma couldn't name. "They saw you. They know you matter to me. That makes you a target." Her stomach dropped. I'm nobody. I just run a cafe." "You stopped being nobody the second you warned me about that sniper." He leaned forward, pressing his forehead to hers. The gesture was intimate, almost tender. "I will protect you, Emma. Whatever it takes." Then he was gone, disappearing around the corner of the building just as the first police car screeched to a halt in front of the cafe. Emma stood alone in the alley, her phone still on the ground, her hands trembling, her mind reeling. What had just happened? Who was Dante Moretti? And why did her chest ache with the absence of his hands on her face? The police asked questions for 2 hours. Emma sat in the back of an ambulance, a blanket around her shoulders despite the warm afternoon, and answered everything as honestly as she could. Yes, 3 men entered the cafe. No, she didn't know them. Yes, there was a customer who fought back. No, she didn't know his name. A lie, but one that slipped out automatically, some instinct telling her to protect Dante even though she didn't understand why. The detective, a tired-looking woman named Rodriguez, studied Emma with sharp eyes. "You're lucky to be alive." "I know." "This customer, you really don't know anything about him?" Emma shook her head. "He ordered coffee, that's all." Another lie. She knew the way he took his coffee, knew he had a daughter, knew the exact shade of his eyes when he looked at her like she was the only person in the room. Detective Rodriguez didn't look convinced, but she let it drop. "We'll be in touch if we have more questions. In the meantime, the cafe is a crime scene. You won't be able to access it for at least a week." A week. Emma's stomach twisted. A week without income. A week without her routine, her safe space, her anchor. The rent was due in 5 days. She walked home in a daze, her mind replaying every moment. The red dot, Dante's smile, his hands on her face. "You're extraordinary." Marcus was waiting on the steps of their apartment building, his face pale with worry. "Em, I saw the news. They said there was a shooting at your cafe." She fell into his arms, letting him hold her while she shook. "I'm okay," she whispered. "I'm okay." But was she? Her cafe was destroyed. Men with guns knew her face. And somewhere in the city, a mafia boss, because that's what he had to be, there was no other explanation, was planning to come back tomorrow. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the city sounds outside her window. Her phone buzzed at 2 in the morning. Unknown number. Her heart jumped as she opened the message. "There are 2 men outside your building. They work for me. You're safe tonight. Sleep. D." Emma got out of bed and moved to the window, carefully pulling back the curtain. Sure enough, a black SUV sat parked across the street. She couldn't see the occupants, but she felt their presence. Watching. Protecting. She should be terrified. She should call the police. get a restraining order, pack up Marcus and leave the city. Instead, she texted back, "Who are you?" The response came immediately. "Tomorrow. I'll explain everything tomorrow. Promise?" A pause. Then, "I promise, Emma." She got back into bed, her phone clutched to her chest, and somehow, impossibly, she slept. Emma stood outside the ruins of her cafe the next morning, coffee cup from a chain store in her hand, staring at the plywood boards covering her shattered windows. Yellow police tape still crisscrossed the door. The sign she'd painted herself 2 years ago, "Corner Brew" in cheerful blue letters, hung crooked, one corner torn. This was supposed to be her fresh start. After dropping out of art school to care for Marcus, after their mother's diagnosis, after 2 years of barely scraping by, this cafe had been the one thing that was hers, the one thing she'd built with her own hands. Now it looked like a war zone. They can fix it. Emma didn't turn around. She'd felt Dante's presence before he spoke, some new awareness that had settled into her bones overnight. "The windows, the furniture, the equipment," he continued, coming to stand beside her. "I have people who specialize in this kind of thing. They can have it looking new in a week. I can't afford, I'm paying." Now she did turn, looking up at him. He wore a different suit today, charcoal gray, perfectly pressed. The cut above his eyebrow had been cleaned and bandaged. In the morning light, he looked less like the dangerous man who'd fired a gun in her cafe and more like a businessman on his way to a meeting. Except for his eyes. His eyes held too much weight, too many shadows. "I don't want your money," Emma said quietly. "It's not about what you want. It's about responsibility." His gaze moved from the cafe to her face. "This happened because of me. I fix it." "You didn't pull the trigger." "No, but I sat in your cafe for 6 months, knowing what I am, knowing the risks I bring." His jaw tightened. "I should have stayed away." Something twisted in Emma's chest. "Is that what you want? To stay away?" Dante's eyes held hers for a long moment. "No," he said finally. "That's the problem." Before she could respond, the black SUV she'd seen last night pulled up to the curb. The driver's window rolled down, revealing a man in his 40s with salt and pepper hair and sharp features. "Boss, we need to move. Volkov's people have been asking questions in the neighborhood." Dante nodded once, then looked back at Emma. "Come with me." "What? Where?" "Somewhere we can talk. Somewhere safe." He paused. "Please, Emma. I owe you an explanation, and I can't give it while standing on a street corner." She should say no. She should walk away right now, block his number, pretend the last 6 months never happened. But when Dante offered his hand, Emma found herself taking it. The SUV drove for 20 minutes, weaving through Manhattan traffic until they reached a high-rise in Tribeca. The driver pulled into an underground garage, past 2 security checkpoints, and parked in a private bay. "This way," Dante said, guiding Emma toward a private elevator. They rode up in silence. Emma watched the numbers climb, 20, 30, 40, until finally stopping at the penthouse level. The elevator doors opened directly into an apartment that stole Emma's breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city. The space was open and modern, all clean lines and expensive furnishings, but not cold. Warm wood accents, plush rugs, a lived-in quality that suggested this wasn't just a showpiece. A little girl sat on the floor near the windows, coloring in a workbook. She looked up when they entered, her face brightening. "Papa!" "Sophia." Emma recognized her from the cafe visits. "Piccola," Dante said softly, crouching down as his daughter ran to him. He scooped her up, pressing a kiss to her dark curls. "Did you finish your breakfast?" "Yes." Rosa made pancakes. Sophia's curious eyes landed on Emma. "I know you. You're the coffee lady." Emma's heart squeezed. That's right. I'm Emma. Do you know how to draw horses? I'm trying, but they look like dogs. Despite everything, the fear, the confusion, the complete upheaval of her life, Emma smiled. I used to draw a lot. Maybe I can help. Really? Sophia's entire face lit up. Later, Dante said gently, setting his daughter down. Emma and I need to talk first. Go find Rosa. She was going to show you how to make bread. Sophia pouted but obeyed, skipping off toward what Emma assumed was the kitchen. Dante watched her go, something soft and vulnerable in his expression. When he turned back to Emma, the mask had returned. Sit, he said, gesturing to the couch. I'll tell you everything. Emma perched on the edge of the sofa while Dante poured 2 glasses of water from a bar cart. He handed her one, then sat across from her, elbows on his knees, his hands clasped. My name is Dante Moretti. I run the Moretti family operations in Manhattan. Imports, exports, construction, real estate. He paused. Also gambling, protection, and about a dozen other things the law doesn't smile on. You're a mafia boss, Emma said. It wasn't a question. Yes. The word hung between them. The cafe, Emma said slowly. You came there because it was quiet. Because nobody knew me there. Because for 40 minutes twice a week, I could sit in a normal place and pretend I was a normal man. His eyes found hers. And because after the first time you smiled at me, I couldn't stay away. Heat crawled up Emma's neck. The men yesterday? Volkov organization, Russian outfit trying to move into Manhattan. We've been negotiating territory. He said negotiating the way someone might say fighting a war. Yesterday was supposed to be an ambush. They got intel about my routine. The sniper should have killed me the second I walked out of the cafe. Dante's expression shifted, something like wonder crossing his features. But you saw the red dot, warned me, pulled me out of the line of fire. Emma's hands trembled around her water glass. I didn't think. I just saved my life. He leaned forward. Emma, do you understand what that means in my world? You didn't just help me. You made yourself part of this. Volkov knows your face now. He knows you matter to me. I don't matter to you. I'm just someone who makes your coffee. Is that what you think? Dante's voice dropped. That you're just anything to me? Her breath caught. I know the way you bite your lip when you're concentrating, he said quietly. I know you save the last chocolate croissant for your brother even when you haven't eaten. I know you paint in your free time because I've seen the dried paint under your fingernails. I know you're terrified of failing, of letting people down, of not being enough. Tears stung Emma's eyes. How? Because I've spent 6 months watching you the way a drowning man watches the shore. His hands flexed. I told myself it was just coffee, just a quiet place to think. But that was a lie. I came back because of you. Emma set down her water glass before she dropped it. I don't understand what you want from me. I want you safe. The intensity in his voice made her shiver. Volkov won't stop. Not until either he's dead or I am. And now that he knows about you, he'll use you to get to me. So what are you saying? I'm saying you can't go home. Your apartment isn't secure. Your cafe isn't secure. He paused. I'm saying I need you to stay here, under my protection, until I can neutralize the threat. Emma's mind reeled. Stay here? I can't. Marcus needs me. I have a life. I can't just disappear. Marcus is already being moved to a secure location. One of my men is with him right now, explaining the situation. You? Anger flashed through her fear. You can't just make decisions about my brother without asking me. I can when those decisions keep him alive. She stood abruptly, pacing to the windows. The city sprawled below, millions of people living normal lives, going to normal jobs, worrying about normal problems. She wanted to be one of them again. "How long?" she asked, her voice tight. "A few weeks. Maybe longer. And if I say no, then I'll assign a security team to follow you everywhere. You'll have guards outside your apartment, your cafe, wherever you go. Your life won't be your own anyway." He stood, moving to stand beside her. "At least here, you're truly safe." Emma closed her eyes. "This is insane." "I know. I don't know you." "Not really." "Then get to know me." His hand came up slowly, carefully, giving her time to move away. When she didn't, he tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I'm not going to lie to you, Emma. My world is dangerous. It's violent. It's not a place for someone like you." "Someone like me?" "Someone good." His thumb grazed her cheek. "Someone who builds things instead of breaking them. Someone who smiles at strangers and saves chocolate croissants and warns mafia bosses about snipers even when every instinct should tell you to run." Her heart hammered. "You're making me sound better than I am." "I'm telling you what I see." They stood there, inches apart, the city sprawling below them. Emma could feel the heat of his body, smell his cologne, see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. "If I stay," she whispered, "what happens?" "I will protect you. I found Volkov. I will end this." His hand slid to cup her jaw. "And I do everything in my power not to fall any deeper in love with you than I already am." Emma's breath stopped. "Dante." "But I'll probably fail at that last part," he continued, voice rough. "Because you're already under my skin, Emma Torres. You have been since the first day you smiled at me and said, 'Welcome to Corner Brew, what can I make for you?'" CTA number 2, approximately 5,100 words in. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Before Emma could respond, Sophia's voice rang out from the kitchen. "Papa, Rosa says you have to try the bread. It has cheese inside." The moment broke. Dante stepped back, running a hand through his hair. "I'm sorry, that was true?" Emma finished softly. His eyes met hers again, vulnerable and fierce at once. "Yes. I need to call Marcus." "Of course." Dante pulled out his phone, dialing quickly. "Ryan, put Marcus on speaker." A moment later, her brother's voice filled the air. "Em, are you okay? These guys showed up and said, 'I'm fine.'" Emma said quickly, "I'm with Dante. We're safe." "Dante? The coffee guy?" "Em, what's going on?" "It's complicated, but I need you to trust me. Stay with Mr. Moretti's people for a few days. I'll explain everything when I can." A pause. "You swear you're okay?" "I swear." "Okay." Marcus didn't sound convinced, but he knew when not to push. "But you owe me a huge explanation, and ice cream." Despite everything, Emma smiled. "Deal." Dante ended the call and handed her the phone. "He'll be safe. I have him at one of my properties in Brooklyn. 3 guards, secure entrance, everything he needs." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Dante's expression hardened. "Volkov will escalate. He'll try to draw me out. That means things are going to get worse before they get better." "How much worse?" "I don't know, but I promise you." He stepped closer again. "Nothing will touch you. Not while I'm breathing." The first 3 days in Dante's penthouse felt surreal. Emma had her own room, spacious, with an ensuite bathroom and a view that rivaled the living room. Rosa, the housekeeper, was a warm Italian woman in her 60s who seemed to view Emma's presence as a delightful development. "Finally," Rosa had said that first night, "someone to put some sense in that man's head." Sophia adopted Emma immediately. The 7-year-old followed her around, asking endless questions, showing her drawings and demanding help with homework. Emma found herself falling into a routine. Breakfast with Sophia, art projects in the afternoon, dinner as a strange, makeshift family. Dante watched it all with an expression Emma couldn't quite read. He was different here, in his home. Softer around the edges. He loosened his tie during dinner, laughed at Sophia's jokes, listened with genuine interest when Emma talked about her photography dreams. But he also disappeared for hours at a time, returning with tension in his shoulders and blood on his knuckles that he tried to hide. On the fourth night, Emma found him on the balcony after Sophia had gone to bed. He stood at the railing, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring out at the city. "Can't sleep?" she asked quietly. He glanced at her. "I'm not good at it these days." Emma joined him at the railing, wrapping her cardigan tighter against the cool air. "Anything I can do to help?" "You're already doing it." He took a sip of whiskey. "Sophia hasn't smiled this much in months. She's a wonderful kid. She takes after her mother." Something dark crossed his face. "In all the good ways." Emma hesitated, then asked the question that had been burning in her mind. "Where is Sophia's mother?" "Dead. 3 years ago." Dante's knuckles whitened around the glass. "Volkov had her killed. She was collateral damage in his war with my family." Emma's breath caught. "Dante, I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry. Be angry." He turned to face her fully. "Be furious that men like me exist, that women like Maria die because they loved the wrong person. Be terrified that you're standing here with me right now, knowing what happened to her could happen to you." "Is that what you think? That I should be terrified of you?" "Yes." "Well, I'm not." Emma met his gaze steadily. "I'm scared of Volkov. I'm scared of what might happen. But I'm not scared of you, Dante Moretti." He stared at her like she was speaking a language he didn't understand. "You should be." "Why? Because you run a criminal organization? Because you've killed people?" She stepped closer. "I saw you with Sophia. I've watched you for 4 days. You're not a monster. You don't know what I've done. Then tell me." The challenge hung in the air between them. Dante set down his glass with a sharp click. "I've killed 17 men with my own hands," he said flatly. "I've ordered deaths. I've tortured people for information. I've destroyed families, ruined businesses, burned things to the ground that didn't deserve burning." Emma didn't flinch. "Why?" "Because that's what men like me do." "No." She shook her head. "I don't believe that. There's a reason." "What is it?" He looked away, jaw working. For a moment she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "My father. He built this family, this empire. When he died, I inherited everything. The business, the debts, the enemies, the responsibility." His hands gripped the railing. "I was 23 years old. I had a wife and a newborn daughter. And suddenly, I had two choices: become the monster they needed me to be, or watch everyone I loved die. So you chose the monster. I chose survival." He finally looked at her again. "And I've lived with that choice every day since. Every order I give, every line I cross. I do it knowing that I'm destroying pieces of myself to keep the people I love safe." Emma's heart ached. She reached out slowly, placing her hand over his on the railing. "You're not destroying yourself, Dante. You're carrying too much weight. There's a difference." His eyes closed. "You don't understand." "I understand more than you think." Her thumb stroked across his knuckles. "I took care of my mother for 2 years while she died of cancer. I dropped out of school. I gave up my dreams. I worked 3 jobs to pay for treatments that didn't work. And when she died, I had a 17-year-old brother to raise and no idea how to do it." Dante's hand turned under hers, his fingers lacing through hers. "I felt like I was drowning," Emma continued. "Like every choice I made was wrong, like I was failing everyone all the time. And I told myself I was doing it for Marcus, for our future. But the truth is, I was also doing it because I didn't know how to stop. Because stopping meant admitting I couldn't save everyone. You did save him, Dante said quietly. Your brother. He's in college. He's thriving. You gave him that. And you gave Sophia a father who would burn the world down to keep her safe. Emma squeezed his hand. That's not nothing, Dante. That's everything. He pulled her closer until there was no space between them. His free hand came up to cup her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. You are the most extraordinary woman I've ever met, he murmured. You barely know me. I know enough. His forehead pressed to hers. I know you're kind. I know you're brave. I know you see people. Really see them. In a way most people don't. Dante. I know I have no right to feel this way about you. His breath was warm against her lips. I know I should keep my distance. I know I'm putting you in danger just by standing this close. Then why aren't you walking away? Because I can't. The confession sounded like it was torn from somewhere deep inside him. Because the thought of losing you, even though you were never really mine, terrifies me more than Volkov, more than death, more than anything. Emma's heart thundered. I'm not yours? No. His thumb stroked her cheek again. You're your own person. You make your own choices. And if you choose to walk away from this, from me, I'll understand. I'll let you go. She looked up at him, at the vulnerability in his eyes, the careful way he held her like she was something precious and breakable. What if I don't want to walk away? She whispered. Dante's control visibly cracked. His hand slid into her hair, his eyes dropping to her mouth. Emma, if you stay, things will change. I won't be able to keep pretending. Then don't pretend. He kissed her. It wasn't rough or desperate. It was slow, careful, devastating in its tenderness. His lips moved against hers like he was trying to memorize the taste of her, the feel of her, the way she sighed into his mouth. Emma's hands came up to grip his shirt, pulling him closer. She'd thought about this. Late at night, when the penthouse was quiet and she was alone in her room, she'd wondered what it would feel like to kiss him. The reality was better, warmer, more real. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. I won't apologize for that, Dante said. Good. Emma smiled against his lips. Because I'd just make you do it again. He laughed, actually laughed, and the sound did something to her chest. Something warm and terrifying and wonderful. You're dangerous, he murmured. Says the Mafia boss. Emma? He grew serious again. I meant what I said. I will protect you. Whatever it takes. I know. But I can't promise you normal. I can't promise you safety forever. I can't. She kissed him again, cutting off his words. When she pulled back, she said simply, Then promise me the truth. Promise me you'll always be honest with me, even when it's hard. I promise. That's enough. They stood there for a long moment, holding each other, the city lights twinkling below. Emma felt the shift between them, the way something fundamental had changed. She was falling for him. Maybe she'd been falling since that first smile, that first, welcome to Corner Brew. And for the first time in 3 years, she wasn't afraid of the fall. The attack came on the 7th day. Emma was in the living room with Sophia, teaching her how to shade a drawing, when Dante burst through the door with Ryan close behind. We need to move, Dante said sharply. Now. Emma's blood froze. What's happening? Volkov knows you're here. He's coming. Sophia looked up, fear flashing across her face. Dante crouched down immediately, hands on his daughter's shoulders. It's okay, Piccola. We're just going on an adventure. Remember the special room Rosa showed you? Sophia nodded, eyes wide. I need you to go there with Rosa right now. Can you do that for me? Will you come too, Papa? Soon, I promise. He kissed her forehead. Go. Quickly. Rosa appeared from nowhere, scooping Sophia up and hurrying toward what Emma now realized was a panic room hidden behind a bookshelf. Dante turned to Emma. You're going with them. No. Emma? If I hide and something happens to you, I'll never forgive myself. She grabbed his arm. I'm staying. I can help. You don't know how to fight. I know how to think. I know how to watch for details. She met his eyes. That red dot saved your life, remember? Ryan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then looked at Dante. 3 minutes out. Maybe less. Dante's jaw worked. Then, decision made, he grabbed Emma's hand. Fine. But you do exactly what I say, when I say it. Understood? Yes. He pulled her toward his office, Ryan following. Inside, Dante opened a wall panel, revealing an arsenal of weapons. He pulled out a handgun, checking the magazine with practiced efficiency. Stay behind me. If shooting starts, you get down and cover your head. He handed her a phone. This has one number programmed. If anything happens to me, you press the button. My cousin will come for you. Nothing's going to happen to you. Emma? The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing the penthouse in an eerie red glow. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. They cut the power, Ryan muttered. Means they're in the building. Dante's hand tightened around his gun. He looked at Emma, and for just a second, his mask slipped. She saw fear there. Not for himself. For her. I'm going to end this, he said quietly. Today. I'm done letting Volkov dictate my life. Dante! Gunshots echoed from the hallway. Ryan swore, raising his own weapon. They're through the front door. Dante positioned himself between Emma and the office entrance. When I move, you run to the panic room. Don't argue. Just run. I'm not leaving you. Emma! I said I'm not leaving you. She grabbed his arm with both hands. We face this together or not at all. He stared at her, something fierce and bright burning in his eyes. You are the most stubborn woman I've ever met. Good thing you like me then? Despite everything, he smiled. I'm more than like you. More gunshots. Closer now. Ryan positioned himself by the door. Boss, we need a call. Fight or evac? Dante looked at Emma one more time. Then his expression hardened into something cold and focused. The Mafia boss, not the man who'd kissed her on the balcony. We fight, he said. But we do it smart. He pulled Emma close, his lips brushing her ear. Trust me? Always. Then stay close, stay quiet, and let me protect you. The office door burst open. 4 men rushed through the office door. Dante moved with lethal precision, firing twice before Emma could even process what was happening. 2 men dropped. Ryan took out a third. The 4th dove behind Dante's desk, returning fire. Down! Dante shouted, pushing Emma behind a leather armchair. She hit the floor hard, her heart slamming against her ribs. The smell of gunpowder filled the air. Her ears rang from the shots. This was real. This was actually happening. More footsteps in the hallway. Dante glanced at Ryan, some silent communication passing between them. Ryan nodded and moved toward the door, weapon raised. The man behind the desk made his move, rising to fire. Dante was faster. 1 shot. Clean. Final. Silence fell, broken only by Emma's ragged breathing. Dante crossed to her immediately, pulling her up, his hands running over her shoulders, her arms, checking for injuries. Are you hurt? No, I'm okay. Her voice shook. Dante, there are more. I know. His eyes were dark, focused. Ryan's handling the hallway, but we need to move. This office is too exposed. He kept her hand in his as they moved toward the door. Ryan stood in the hallway, 3 more bodies at his feet. Emma's stomach turned, but she forced herself not to look too closely. How many? Dante asked. At least 12. Maybe more. Ryan's face was grim. They came prepared, boss. Volkov himself? Haven't seen him yet. But he's here, I can feel it. Dante's jaw tightened. He turned to Emma. Last chance. The panic room. No. Emma. I told you. We face this together. She squeezed his hand. Besides, you need someone watching your back. Ryan can't be everywhere. She's got a point, Ryan muttered. Dante looked like he wanted to argue, but more shots rang out from deeper in the penthouse. The living room, near where the panic room was hidden. Sophia. Dante's expression turned deadly. They're going after her. He moved before Emma could respond, running down the hallway with Ryan close behind. Emma followed, her heart in her throat. They burst into the living room to find 3 men trying to pry open the bookshelf that hid the panic room. One of them had some kind of crowbar. The wood was splintering. Get away from that door, Dante said, his voice cold enough to freeze blood. The men spun, weapons rising. Dante didn't hesitate. He fired in rapid succession, each shot perfectly placed. 2 men went down. The third managed to get off a shot that went wide, shattering a window before Ryan's bullet found him. Dante was already at the bookshelf, his hand on the hidden panel. Sophia. Rosa. It's me. The mechanism clicked. The shelf swung open. Sophia ran out, tears streaming down her face, and threw herself into Dante's arms. Papa, I was so scared. I know, Piccola. I know. He held her tight, his eyes closing for just a moment. When he opened them, they found Emma. Rosa, take Sophia to the service elevator. Go to the Brooklyn house, don't stop for anything. Rosa nodded, already moving, but Sophia clung to her father. What about you? I'll come soon, I promise. He kissed her forehead. But I need you to be brave right now. Can you do that? Sophia nodded, wiping her eyes. She looked at Emma. Are you coming too? Soon, Emma said softly. I'll see you soon. Rosa took Sophia's hand and hurried toward the kitchen, where Emma knew the service elevator was located. Dante watched them go, something raw and vulnerable crossing his face. Then he turned back to Emma and Ryan, and the vulnerability disappeared. Volkov is still here, he said, probably on the balcony or the master bedroom, somewhere with an exit route. We end this tonight, Ryan said. Yes. Dante looked at Emma. But you need to leave. Now. Take the service elevator with Rosa and Sophia. Dante. Please. He grabbed her shoulders, his eyes intense. I can't fight if I'm worried about you. I can't think clearly. Please, Emma. For me. Go. She wanted to argue. Every instinct told her to stay, to not leave him when danger was still so close. But she also saw the fear in his eyes. Real, genuine fear. Not for himself, but for her. Okay, she whispered, but you promise me you're coming back. I promise. Swear it, Dante, swear on Sophia. His hands cupped her face. I swear on my daughter's life, I will come back to you. Then he kissed her, hard and desperate and full of everything he couldn't say. When he pulled back, there were tears in Emma's eyes. Go, he said softly. Run. She ran. Emma sprinted through the kitchen, down the service hallway, her lungs burning. She could hear more gunshots behind her, could hear shouting. The service elevator was still there, doors open. Rosa and Sophia were inside, holding the door button. Hurry! Rosa called. Emma dove inside just as a figure appeared at the end of the hallway. Not Dante, not Ryan. A man in a black jacket, gun raised. The elevator doors began to close. Emma slammed the button frantically. The man was running now, his weapon up, 10 feet, 5 feet. The doors sealed shut. A bullet pinged off the metal, but they were already moving. Emma collapsed against the wall, gasping. Sophia pressed against Rosa, crying quietly. Rosa held her, murmuring soft Italian words. They rode down in terrible silence. Emma's mind raced. Dante was up there, fighting, maybe dying. I swear on my daughter's life I will come back to you. She had to believe him. She had to. The elevator reached the garage level. The doors opened to reveal two of Dante's security team waiting with a black SUV, engine running. "Let's move," one of them said. They hustled into the vehicle. Sophia curled up against Emma, and Emma wrapped her arms around the little girl, holding her close. As they pulled out of the garage, Emma looked up at the penthouse, high above. "Come back to me," she thought. "Please come back to me." Dante moved through his penthouse like a ghost, Ryan at his side. They'd cleared the living room, the office, the hallways. The bodies they'd left behind were a message. This was his territory, and Volkov had made a mistake coming here. But Volkov himself was still hidden. Dante's rage was cold and focused. This man had killed Maria. This man had threatened Sophia. This man had put Emma in danger. Tonight, it ended. They approached the master bedroom carefully. The door was ajar, moonlight spilling through from the balcony beyond. Dante signaled to Ryan. "On 3, 1, 2, 3. They burst through together. The bedroom was empty, but the balcony door was open. A figure stood outside, silhouetted against the city lights. Alexei Volkov. He was a big man, broad-shouldered, with a scarred face and cold blue eyes. He held a gun loosely at his side, as if he'd been waiting. "Moretti," he said in heavily accented English. "Finally. I was beginning to think you'd hide behind your men all night." Dante stepped onto the balcony, Ryan covering him from inside. "You came into my home, threatened my daughter. You made this personal, Alexei. It was always personal?" Volkov's smile was ugly. "You think you can operate in this city without consequences? You think your family's name still means something? It means more than yours will after tonight." Big words. Volkov raised his gun slightly. "But you're outnumbered. My men are everywhere." "Your men are dead." Volkov's smile faltered. "Impossible. I brought 12. All dead," Dante said flatly. "Except you." For the first time, uncertainty crossed Volkov's face. He glanced toward the bedroom, as if expecting backup that wasn't coming. "So here we are," Dante continued, his voice deadly calm. "Just you and me, the way it should be." "You won't shoot me," Volkov said, but there was less confidence in his tone now. "Too many witnesses, too much heat. The police are probably already on their way." "Let them come." Dante raised his gun. "I'll be gone before they arrive, but you won't." "Wait." Volkov's hand tightened on his weapon. "We can make a deal. Split the territory. Work together. You don't have to." "You killed my wife." The words hung in the air. 3 years ago," Dante continued, his voice low and dangerous. "Maria was leaving a restaurant. Your sniper shot her in the head. She died before the ambulance arrived. My daughter was in the car. She watched her mother die." Volkov's face paled. "That was business. Nothing personal." "You made it personal the moment you pulled that trigger." Dante's gun never wavered. "And tonight you threatened the woman I love and my daughter. You came into my home. You crossed every line." "The woman?" Volkov's eyes widened slightly. "The girl from the cafe? Her name is Emma. She's nothing. Nobody. She's everything." Dante's finger moved to the trigger. "And that's something you'll never understand." Volkov moved fast, bringing his gun up. But Dante was faster. 3 shots. Clean. Final. Volkov staggered backward, hitting the balcony railing. His gun clattered to the ground. He looked down at his chest, at the blood spreading across his shirt, then back up at Dante. "You," he gasped. "You'll start a war." "No," Dante said coldly. "I'm ending one." Volkov slumped to the ground, his breathing shallow. Within seconds, it stopped altogether. Dante stood over him, gun still raised, making sure. When he was certain Volkov was dead, he lowered his weapon. Ryan stepped onto the balcony. It's done? It's done. Sirens wailed in the distance. Ryan pulled out his phone, already making calls. I'll handle the cleanup. You need to go. Now. Dante nodded. He took one last look at Volkov's body, feeling nothing. No satisfaction, no relief. Just the cold certainty that he'd done what was necessary. He'd protected his family. He'd protected Emma. Dante made it to the Brooklyn safe house 40 minutes later, driving himself in an unmarked car. His hands were steady on the wheel despite everything that had happened. The house was a brownstone in a quiet neighborhood, unremarkable from the outside. But inside, it was fortified like a bunker. He was buzzed through 3 security checkpoints before finally reaching the main living area. Emma stood up the moment he walked through the door. For a heartbeat, they just stared at each other. Then Emma ran to him, and Dante caught her, wrapping his arms around her so tightly he could feel her heartbeat against his chest. You came back, she whispered. I promised. She pulled back just enough to look at his face, her hands coming up to cup his cheeks. Are you hurt? No. Volkov? Dead. She closed her eyes, relief washing over her face. It's over? It's over. He pressed his forehead to hers. You're safe. Sophia's safe. It's over. Sophia's voice called out from upstairs. Papa? I'm here, Piccola. Tiny footsteps thundered down the stairs. Sophia launched herself at Dante and he scooped her up, holding both her and Emma, his entire world in his arms. I knew you'd come back, Sophia said. Emma said you promised. I always keep my promises. He kissed his daughter's head, then looked at Emma over Sophia's shoulder. Always. Rosa appeared from the kitchen, relief evident on her face. Dinner is ready. You all should eat. In a minute, Dante said. He set Sophia down gently. Go help Rosa set the table? Sophia nodded and ran off, dragging Rosa with her. Alone again, Dante and Emma stood in the quiet living room. The adrenaline was fading now, leaving exhaustion in its wake. I thought I lost you, Emma said quietly. When those shots kept going, when we were in the elevator, I thought I'd never see you again. I'm here. He pulled her close again. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. What happens now? Now. Dante paused, thinking. Now we figure out what comes next. The police will investigate the penthouse. My lawyers will handle it. Volkov's organization will collapse without him. His lieutenants will fight each other for control. The territory disputes will settle down. And us? He looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who'd saved his life, who'd stayed when she should have run, who'd faced danger with courage and protected his daughter with fierce tenderness. Us? He said slowly. Depends on what you want. What do you mean? I mean you have a choice, Emma. His thumb stroked her cheek. You can walk away. I'll set you up somewhere safe, somewhere far from this life. New identity, new start. You and Marcus can have the normal life you deserve. Her eyes searched his. Is that what you want? God, no. The words came out rough. What I want is to wake up next to you every morning. I want to come home to you every night. I want to watch you teach Sophia how to draw and argue with you about coffee and kiss you until neither of us can breathe. Emma's breath caught. But I can't ask you to stay, Dante continued. I can't ask you to accept this life. The danger, the violence, the constant looking over your shoulder. You deserve better than what I can give you. You're wrong, Emma said quietly. Emma? You're wrong about what I deserve. She grabbed his shirt, pulling him closer. I deserve honesty. I deserve respect. I deserve someone who sees me, really sees me, and chooses me anyway. I deserve someone who would burn the world down to keep me safe. Tears stung his eyes. You deserve more than a mafia boss with blood on his hands. Maybe. She smiled through her own tears. But you're the mafia boss I want. Are you sure? Because once you choose this, there's no going back. You'll be part of this world. Part of my world. I know. Emma? She kissed him, silencing his protests. When she pulled back, her eyes were fierce. I choose you, Dante Moretti. I choose this life. I choose us. Even knowing what it means? Especially knowing what it means. She touched his face gently. You told me on the balcony that you were falling in love with me. Well, guess what? I'm already there. I love you. The mafia boss. The father. The man who makes terrible jokes with Sophia and drinks coffee at my cafe and looks at me like I'm the only person in the room. Emma. His voice broke. I love you, she repeated. And I'm not going anywhere. Dante kissed her then, pouring everything into it. Relief, love, gratitude, promise. When they finally broke apart, both were crying. I love you, he whispered against her lips. I love you so much. I know. She smiled. You told me with every $20 tip. He laughed, actually laughed, and pulled her close. They stood there in the quiet living room, holding each other, knowing that everything had changed but feeling, for the first time in a long time, like everything might actually be okay. 6 months later. Emma stood in the doorway of the renovated corner brew, breathing in the smell of fresh paint and new wood. The cafe looked almost exactly as it had before the shooting. Same layout, same warm lighting, same welcoming atmosphere. But there were upgrades now. Reinforced windows, a security system, a panic button under the counter that connected directly to Dante's security team. A compromise. A way to keep the life she loved while accepting the reality of the life she'd chosen. Marcus was working the espresso machine, having taken a semester off from college to help with the reopening. He'd forgiven her for the chaos of 6 months ago, especially after Dante had offered to pay for his remaining tuition. You okay? Marcus asked, noticing her standing there. Yeah. Emma smiled, just taking it all in. The bell above the door chimed. Sophia bounded in, followed by Dante. Emma, Rosa made me a special lunch for school. It has a heart sandwich. That sounds amazing. Emma crouched down to hug her. In the past 6 months, Sophia had become the little sister she never knew she wanted. They'd developed their own routines. Art sessions on Sunday mornings, baking cookies on Wednesday evenings, reading before bed when Emma stayed over at the brownstone, which was most nights now. Dante came up behind them, his hand automatically finding the small of Emma's back. The cafe looks perfect. It does, doesn't it? She leaned into his touch, still marveling at how natural this had become. How right. They'd moved slowly, taking time to build something real. Dante had kept his promise. Complete honesty, even when it was hard. He'd told her about his business, about the decisions he had to make, about the darkness he still carried. And Emma had chosen to stay. Every single day. Are you ready for tomorrow? Dante asked. Tomorrow was the grand reopening. Emma had sent invitations to all her old customers, hoping some would return, hoping they'd give her a second chance. I'm ready. She turned to look at him. Nervous, but ready. You'll be amazing. He kissed her forehead. You always are. Sophia tugged on Emma's hand. Can I help tomorrow? I can draw hearts on the cups. That sounds perfect. Marcus called from behind the counter. Hey Dante, can you taste this? I'm trying a new blend. Dante squeezed Emma's hand once, then went to help her brother. Emma watched them interact. Her two worlds, somehow fitting together. It wasn't perfect. There were still security concerns. Still moments when Dante came home with tension in his shoulders and shadows in his eyes. There were still nights when Emma woke up from nightmares about the penthouse attack. But there was also love. Real, deep, honest love. There was Sophia's laughter. Marcus's friendship with Dante, Rosa's knowing smiles, the security team that had become like family. There was the way Dante looked at her every morning like she was a miracle. The way he supported her dreams while protecting her reality. The way he'd slowly let her into the darkest corners of his world and trusted her not to run. And she hadn't. She wouldn't. Because this was her choice. Her life. Her love. The bell chimed again. One of Dante's men, Tony, who'd become the cafe's unofficial security guard, stuck his head in. "All clear, boss. Perimeter's secure." "Thanks, Tony." Dante turned back to Emma. "Want to take a walk? Sophia has art class in an hour." "Sure." They stepped outside into the afternoon sunlight. The neighborhood looked the same as it always had. Busy, vibrant, alive. Emma's cafe stood in the middle of it all, a small piece of normalcy in an anything-but-normal life. Dante took her hand as they walked, Sophia skipping ahead of them. "I've been thinking," he said. "Dangerous," Emma teased. He smiled. "I want to marry you." Emma stopped walking. "What?" "Not right now. Not until you're ready." He turned to face her fully. "But I want you to know that's where this is heading. For me. You and Sophia and whatever comes next. That's what I want." Her heart felt too big for her chest. "Dante? You don't have to answer now. I just needed you to know." He cupped her face. "You changed everything, Emma Torres. You made me believe I could be more than what I was. You gave me hope." Tears blurred her vision. "You gave me courage. You taught me that choosing something scary can also mean choosing something beautiful." "Is that a yes?" "That's an ask me properly and we'll see." She smiled through her tears. "But Dante?" "The answer will be yes." He kissed her there on the street, Sophia cheering nearby, pedestrians walking past without a second glance. Just a man and woman in love. Nothing special, nothing unusual. Except it was special. It was extraordinary. Because Emma had fallen in love with a mafia boss, and he'd fallen in love with her, and somehow, impossibly, they'd built something real out of danger and darkness and coffee at a corner cafe. That night, after Sophia was asleep, and Marcus had gone home and the brownstone was quiet, Emma and Dante sat on the balcony of the Brooklyn house. The city stretched out before them, thousands of lights in the darkness. "Do you ever regret it?" Dante asked quietly. "Staying?" "Not even once." Emma leaned her head on his shoulder. "Do you regret letting me?" "Every time I see you in danger, I regret not forcing you to run." He pressed a kiss to her hair. "But every time you smile at me, every time you make Sophia laugh, every time you choose this life, I'm grateful you're stubborn." "Good thing you like stubborn women." "Good thing I love one." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city. Somewhere out there, Dante's people were managing territory, handling business, doing things Emma didn't always want to know about. But here, in this moment, they were just two people who'd found each other against all odds. "Thank you," Emma whispered. "For what?" "For keeping your promise, for coming back, for every $20 tip and every worried look and every time you put me first." "Emma." He turned her to face him, his eyes serious. "You are first. Always. You and Sophia. You're everything." "I know." She kissed him softly. "I love you, Dante Moretti. My mafia boss. My protector. My home. I love you, Emma Torres. My savior. My conscience. My future." They kissed under the stars, the city humming below, their hearts beating in sync. And somewhere in the universe, a red dot had changed everything. A warning that became a meeting that became a love story that became a life. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story. The wedding was small. Just family and close friends in the garden of the Brooklyn brownstone. Sophia served as flower girl, scattering petals with serious concentration. Marcus walked Emma down the aisle, his eyes suspiciously bright. Rosa cried through the entire ceremony. When the officiant asked if Dante would take Emma as his wife, he said, "I will, I do, forever." When Emma said her vows, she added, "I promise to always watch for red dots, to always warn you of danger, to always choose you." They kissed as husband and wife while Sophia cheered and guests applauded. Later, at the reception, Emma found Dante alone for a moment. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey." He pulled her close. "How does it feel to be Mrs. Moretti?" "Terrifying. Wonderful. Right." She smiled. "How does it feel to be married to a cafe owner?" "Like I'm the luckiest man alive." They swayed to music that wasn't playing, just holding each other. "I have something to tell you," Emma said. "What?" "I'm pregnant." Dante froze. Then his face transformed. Joy, wonder, love all mixing together. "You're about 2 months. I wanted to wait until today to tell you." He kissed her, deep and sweet and full of promise. When he pulled back, there were tears in his eyes. "Another baby. Our baby. Are you happy?" "Emma, I'm..." His voice broke. "I'm more than happy. I'm complete." They stood there in the garden, the party continuing around them, their hands clasped together, their future stretching out bright and beautiful, and theirs. Emma had walked into danger to save him, and he had walked out of darkness to love her. Together, they'd built a life that was worth every risk, every fear, every moment of uncertainty. Because love, real love, was always worth the fall. And they had fallen so far, so fast, so completely. "Dawn it turn around," she'd said. But in the end, they'd both turned around. They'd both looked back at where they'd been and forward to where they were going. And they'd chosen each other, again and again and again, until death do us part. And even then, probably not.